Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Di, and today I am sharing with you the start of my diary entry for the week of March 5th through March 11th. Today is Sunday, March 5th, and I have finished 2 books just over the last 24 hours. I actually finished them today, so I thought I'd give you my immediate thoughts on the books. So the first book I finished was Faefever. So I read this one on my Kindle. I'll put the picture up right here. Faefever is the 3rd book in the Fever series by Karen Marie Moning. I'm doing this read-along with my friend Janaea over at Live a Thousand Lives. She's hosting the Fever Along, and so being that this is the 3rd month of the year, we're doing the 3rd book this month. So after the end of the 2nd book, I was really interested to see what was going to happen in this one. So if you are unaware, Dark Fever, the 1st book in this series, follows our main character Mac, and she is in her early 20s, just living it up at home. Her older sister is away on a study abroad program in Ireland, and everything is going great until she receives a call saying that Alina has been murdered. And then, to make things worse, the case has gone cold and there are no leads. So instead of accepting that answer from the police, she packs up and heads off to Ireland to find out who murdered her sister herself. While she's there, she discovers that there are things about herself and her sister that she was unaware of, and there are things that exist in the world that she never thought could be possible. So I've enjoyed the first 2 books in this series. I gave both of them 4 stars. This particular book, though, if you watched my diary entry from last week, you know that I wasn't enjoying it as much as the first 2. And after reading the end of this book, it definitely is a 3. I immediately thought, okay, this is a 3. As soon as I finished the book, it might even be lower than that, but my immediate thought was that it was going to be a 3. And so, yeah, I was disappointed in this one. I did not enjoy this one as much as the first 2. There were a lot of temper tantrums going on between all of the men in the book, as well as the women, and people are just acting childish, and I do not enjoy reading that. The end of this book was surprising, I guess, but not really, considering that there are definitely things that could have been done to avoid what had happened. I was very disappointed with how this book ended. To the point that I think the author felt like she needed to address how the book was ended, because right after the last page there is a note about not giving up hope or something like that with how the story is going, and I'm just like, okay, no. The end of this book does have sexual content in it. There is a scene. It is a multiple person scene. It's not very detailed though, so just know that going in. It's not a very descriptive, explicit scene, but there's enough there that you know that it's an explicit scene, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I am looking forward to seeing what happens in the outcome of the ending of this book. So much so that I almost started the next one right away. But since I am doing a read-along, I did not want to get ahead of schedule. I'm still reading pretty early, considering the discussion for this book is not until early April. But I don't feel like I'm going to forget how I feel about this book, considering that I read it so early in the month. Yeah, I was pretty upset, like angry with how everything went down. It just seemed like it could have been avoided. So, yeah. Disappointment. So that was the first book I finished. And the second book I just finished this morning, and that is What's a Ghoul to Do? This is the first book in the Ghost Hunter Mystery Series by Victoria Laurie. And this first book, I've told you, is not my favorite. In this one, the series follows MJ, who's our character here. She and her best friend Gilly have a business where they help to go into buildings and pass spirits over and exorcise evil spirits from places. And so in this one, we kind of follow how she does that. We get introduced to her techniques, and then she gets hired by a man to figure out what's going on in his grandfather's house. His grandfather has just passed away, and there are strange things going on there. And so he thinks that his grandfather's spirit has stayed behind, and he would like to hire MJ and Gilly to help pass his grandfather over. So all of these books in this series are something like that, where we have a building where there's activity, and then MJ and Gilly go in and do their thing. The further we get along in the series, the more it becomes like a Ghost Hunters TV show kind of thing. I don't want to say any more than that because it could be a spoiler, but it definitely gets progressively better from here. I've said many times that this book is not my favorite. I think it has a lot to do with the client and just the kind of nature of what goes on in this particular case. But the second book in the series was exponentially better from what I can recall. It does follow the Hatchet Man kind of urban legend, and so I'm really looking forward to getting to that one. And I'm going to give this one 4 stars. I think that is the same rating that I had given it the first time that I read it. I did end up reading the rest of this book physically instead of listening to it, because I was just eager to finish this one and get on to the next one. That being said, though, I think my next book is going to be 6-4 by Hideo Yokoyama. This book has been calling me for the last couple weeks, and so I really want to get to it. It is a thick one. I believe this one's over 600 pages, and so I am going to start this one next. I'm going to combo read it, so I'm going to listen to some and read some. I do still want to check out the audiobook, even though I think I will be very upset with pronunciations and things like that. I don't understand why they could not find a Japanese person to narrate the book, considering this is translated from Japanese. But we shall see. Maybe the person was trained before on pronunciation or knows Japanese. So we'll give it a go. I will give you my thoughts as I go through, but I will be starting this book this evening. So that's pretty much all of an update that I have for you right now. Like I said, today is Sunday, and so my plans for the day are to edit 2 videos. That's kind of how my Sundays go. So Saturdays is always filming, and filming takes a good portion of the day, depending on how many videos I have. And then I do a little bit of editing for I say a little bit. I do a lot of editing for my What I've Been Warming video right after I finish, and that usually takes me until about 9 or 10 o'clock at night to get that exported, and then I start uploading it to YouTube. And uploads on Saturday nights on YouTube usually takes about 2.5 hours, which is the longest that any of my uploads takes. So Saturday night is very popular for uploads, I guess. But yeah, so that's what I did yesterday after I finished filming. And then today I edit the rest of the videos that I filmed for the week and schedule and upload those to YouTube. And then in between, I play Genshin Impact with my daughter. That's kind of our Sunday ritual. And so yeah, that is my plan for today. So I guess that's all I have for you right now. I will check in with you a little later maybe and let you know how I'm getting on with 6-4. But until then, I hope you're having a great one, and I'll talk to you in a bit. Hi everyone, it is Saturday, March 11th, and I'm here to wrap up this week's diary entry. So, since I talked to you last, I have not finished anything else this week. I am continuing to read 6-4 by Hideo Yokoyama. I did decide to combo read this, so I'm listening to the audiobook and I am reading in the evening. So I am currently on Chapter 59, page 447. I've got this much left to go. This is not what I anticipated that it was going to be. So let me just talk to you about the audiobook first. So I mentioned to you that the audiobook was narrated by a guy with a British accent, and it is. It is unfortunate because this is a translated from Japanese book. And so some of the things, the way he pronounces them is not correct. And the British accent is really pulling me out of the story. Like, there are parts in here where he's like narrating this book, and it almost sounds like I'm listening to the narration of Harry Potter.
it's very, very strange. Like, even some of the voices sound like some of the characters from the Harry Potter audiobooks, and it's a completely different narrator. But the tone and the way that the lines are said sound like those characters from Harry Potter. And you know that I've been revisiting the Harry Potter series over the last few months. So it really, really is not helping to keep me in this story. So that's not great. But I am getting through this book a lot faster because I am listening to the audiobook. Now, that being said, when I am going back and reading in the evenings, I'm having like the pull to look back at some of the stuff that I've listened to earlier in the day to see like exactly what I've been listening to. Some of the things that are said, I don't know, the pronunciations seem off for me. And, you know, being somebody who is part Japanese, it really bugs me because I don't know, like, sometimes if he's saying one thing or something else. And it turns out that when he was pronouncing a certain character's name in here, it wasn't what I was hearing. Like, how he said it, I heard it a certain way, and it's not how I get it from the book, if you know what I mean. The way it's spelt is different. And so it's very, very difficult for me. This book is very slow. I would say that if you are somebody who enjoys more family drama, office politics, with a little bit of mystery, and at that, the mystery not being like super suspenseful, I think you'd enjoy this book a lot more than I am. So I have always been the type of reader who enjoys a really gritty mystery. Though I do enjoy a lot of cozy mysteries, I need the mystery part of the story to pull me in. I need there to be some kind of suspense, some kind of something that keeps me wanting to know what's going on with the mystery or the case or things like that. And this book does not have that for me. So the premise of this book is that back in the 80s, there was a kidnapping of a girl, and the police force could not get a favorable outcome to that case. It's kind of like the black mark on the entire police department. And, you know, a lot of people remember what happened and how, you know, the police handled the situation. Well, now here we are. I think we're 12 years, 14 years after the fact. And we have a police, like, press officer. Like, he's part of the police department, but he directly deals with the press. So he's kind of the between man. But he has like police experience. He actually worked on the team that was working that kidnapping case. And so he kind of knows what happened, but he doesn't know everything that happened during the case. So in this story, we're following him as a central character. He's got some things going on in his personal life. In fact, you're kind of dropped in at the very, very beginning to let you know that he's got something big going on in his personal life and how that's kind of affecting him as he's going through his daily life. So he's got this personal thing going on, and then there's this thing going on with the press being unhappy with the police department and how they don't want to give certain pieces of information, and the press feel that it's unfair. And so he's kind of needing to mediate between the police department and the press. And then there's this other thing going on where this higher up is coming for an official visit, and it has something to do with this kidnapping case from way back when, which has been called 6-4. So the case throughout this book is called 6-4. So whenever they talk about it, they call it as such. And our main character, his name is Mikami, he doesn't understand why. Why now is he coming for this visit? And this higher up also wants to meet with the father of the girl that was kidnapped back in the 80s. But Mikami doesn't know why. He doesn't know what's going on. And so it's kind of piqued his interest into looking at the case again. And he's starting to notice things because, like I said, he was part of the team that was on this case, but it was kind of a large team from what I'm gathering. So he was only privy to a little bit of it and not all of the things that were happening. And he's noticed that there were little things, and he's starting to question those things, and he can't get straight answers to those things. So that's kind of the mystery part. But that being said, there's no feeling of suspense for this mystery. This case is, for all intents and purposes, closed because it's a cold case. They never caught the kidnapper, and they have no leads. But that's kind of all there is to this so far. We've got Mikami with his personal matter. We've got how he goes about his day-to-day business, trying to mediate between the press and the police office. We have him looking into these little inconsistencies with this case, and we've got a little bit of office politics going on. Mikami has history with one of the other officers. It's not necessarily bad blood, but it's kind of a not great relationship. And so there's a little bit of that. And that's basically what this story is about so far. Like I said, I'm over 400 pages in. It's a very slow story. It just kind of feels like a contemporary day-to-day thing besides this case. And I would say that what Mikami has going on in his life, that little issue, is maybe a little bit suspenseful, but not really. There's no real feel of suspense for me. I don't know if it's just because I'm having such a disconnect with these characters because of the audiobook, or if it's just that I'm just not interested in what's going on. From the get-go, I thought that this book was going to be about mainly the investigation into the inconsistencies of the kidnapping case, and then possibly solving it in this book. But that's really not what I'm getting. I'm getting a very, very slow story that's very contemporary with a little bit of investigating. And that investigating isn't really keeping my interest. So I'm very disappointed with this. I'm almost at the brink of DNFing this, but I don't want to. I want to give this one a good go and figure out what's actually going on with that kidnapping case. What happened? There has been a little bit of information that I've found interesting, but besides that, this is more family drama, office politics, and that's not stuff that I enjoy watching or reading or listening to. And so I'm very, very disappointed. I mean, one of these things back here, the little blurbs, it says, "There's much talk these days of binge viewing. Here's a binge read." This is not a binge read. And this was from The Guardian. I could never see myself just sitting down and reading this whole thing. I am having a hard time in the evening even trying to keep my eyes open for more than a chapter, because that's the kind of feeling I get from this book. It's very relaxed. It's very relaxing to read because there's not much going on. So, yeah. I wouldn't even really consider this a crime novel because the focus is not, for a majority of this book, on either the reinvestigation of this case or the previous case. It's more on Mikami and his life and what's going on in it and what he does for his job and things like that. So I am very disappointed in this. There is a little bit of mystery, like I said, because he's finding inconsistencies in what had happened previously. But up until this point where I am, not a lot of it has come to light. He's only just recently started to question and getting hit with roadblocks when he starts to question certain people about it. So I would say that there's definitely a bit of interesting things going on at this point, but I'm still like feeling that disappointment. Like I'm not feeling that pull to come back to this book day to day. It's kind of just like, okay, it's lunchtime, I'm going to listen to it. Okay, it's time for me to go to bed, I'll read a couple chapters type of thing. It's not really enjoyable. I mean, it's okay. I will be very surprised if I give this more than a 3-star at the end of this read. Because that's kind of how it is for me. It's just okay. So, yeah. If you've read this, let me know your thoughts on it. But I will hopefully have this one done by the time I talk to you next. It's just a disappointing read so far. It's not bad. It's just not what I expected. And if I was more of a contemporary reader or somebody who is in it for characters to experience hardships and in their day-to-day life and see how they navigate office politics, this would be more interesting for me. But I thought that this was going to be about the mystery, about the kidnapping case, about him reinvestigating all of these things that he's finding, and it's not. So, yeah. We'll see how the rest of this goes for me. I'll give you my final thoughts on it next week. And so that is what I've been reading this entire week. I've been very monogamous in my read. Because I really just wanted to get that book done in a reasonable amount of time. And the only way for me to do that with an over 600-page book would be to do that. So I will hopefully still be able to pick up something else in the coming week and get my momentum back up with my reads. But that's where I am right now with that. I have a little bit of a knitting update for you. I did work on my blanket of reads just a little bit this week, not very much again. I only put in about this much. So this is where I talked to you last, and this is where I am. So this was Grey Walker. So that's the first book that I finished in February. This is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So I haven't even finished this row, but I think that will take me to the end of this strip, and then I will start the next strip. So, yeah, not much going on as far as the knitting goes. And then I do have a small yarn haul for you. So, I've talked to you before that I have a bi-monthly subscription to the Kindred Spirits Yarn Club, which is from Little Skein in the Big Wool, and her yarn club, or the particular one that I am subscribed to, is all Anne of Green Gables inspired. So it's inspired by, I think, mostly the books. And Anne of Green Gables is the Sullivan Entertainment TV show, is one of my all-time favorite miniseries. I watch it multiple times a year. Sometimes, but at least once a year. and this is the one with Megan Follows in it, and I just really, really enjoy it. And so when I had heard about this yarn club, I had to subscribe, and I have quite enjoyed every skein that I have gotten, though I haven't used very many of them. That is a project for another day, though. So I got my February, March yarn, and so it is called Snow Queen, inspired by Anne of Green Gables. So she always tells you which book it's inspired by. So this has something to do with Anne of Green Gables, and so this skein looks like this. It is a very, very pale pink with specks, hot pink specks, just really, really lightly speckled with the hot pink. And so I'm very happy with that. She had changed the base that her club yarns were coming on to her cashmere blend instead of her normal sock blend. So this is 70% superwash merino, 20% cashmere, and 10% nylon. So it does feel much softer than the rest of the skeins. So that's going to be a little bit difficult when trying to pair skeins for projects. But I do have a set aside for a summer sorrel shirt or top. Just need to get around to doing it. My knitting mojo has not been very good, as you can tell, with my blanket. And I haven't even touched my Avon sweater for months. But eventually it'll come back. But yes, very happy with that. So that's the first skein I got this past week. And then the second skein I got was from the first quarter Muppets Yarn Club from Fangirl Fibers. So I had told you that I had done a first quarter Muppets Club, and the first color was Kermit. So this month's color was actually the Mystery Muppet. So we already knew that Kermit and Miss Piggy were going to be two of the Muppets, and then there's going to be one Mystery Muppet. And I thought that February's was going to be Miss Piggy because, I mean, it's Valentine's Day. It made sense that it would be Miss Piggy, but it wasn't. It was the Mystery Muppet month, and so the Mystery Muppet ended up being Fozzie Bear. So this is Fozzie Bear. It is a very gold skein with some like orangey streaks in there. So it's a very, very nice color gold. Very, very reminiscent of Fozzie Bear. And the skein, I don't know. It actually says on the back, it says Waka Waka, which is Fozzie Bear's like catchphrase. And then it says Fozzie Bear. So I'm not quite sure what the skein's called, but it's definitely Fozzie Bear. So, yes. Very happy with the skein as well. She did say that all of the skeins would coordinate, and so I can see how this would go well with Kermit, but I'm not quite sure how this would go well with Miss Piggy, considering I'm expecting like a purple, pink and purple from Miss Piggy, but we'll see. We'll see what that looks like. But yeah, I should be getting that one in early April probably, because it'll ship out at the end of March. So yeah, those are the two skeins that I got, and these actually look good together as well. If Miss Piggy comes in like a color like this, I can see how it would go well with Kermit as well. Maybe like this color pink with like purple speckles or something like that. Or I think all of the skeins are kind of variegated though, so it would probably be more like little streaks of purple with this color pink would work well. So yeah, I'm really excited to see what Miss Piggy will look like. But that's pretty much everything that happened this week. I showed you a little bit of my gaming with my daughter. I found a way to finally capture some of that gameplay on the computer. That took a little bit of thinking and such, and so we finally got that done. So I hope you enjoyed some of that gameplay. And yeah, so this week was just okay. I was able to catch up quite a bit, so that is great. I don't feel as pressured anymore. But yeah, this coming week, is probably going to be a little bit difficult for me, like mentally, like I've said before. It's the anniversary of my grandfather's passing on Tuesday the 14th. And yeah, I always get a little bit down in the dumps around this time of the year. But yeah, we'll just see how it goes. Other than that, it's been a much better week than usual. Nothing really happened at work this week. Like I said, I was able to catch up, so that took a load off. And yeah, getting closer and closer to some vacation days, which is great. But yeah, it's been a better than usual, but still not so great week. But looking for those positive points, right? Positive points. And I'm not much of a positive person. Like, I'm really a glass half empty type of person. I'm very pessimistic. And so it's really difficult for me to look for the brighter things, or the brighter side of things, or the more positive outlooks. So I'm really trying here. Really trying. But yeah, it's been great, like, weather, at least for me. I enjoy the rain. It's been raining the last couple days. It's been nice and overcast and dark, and that's the type of weather that I enjoy. And when it's sunny, I get depressed. And so, yeah, those people who are like, I don't know anybody who hates the sun. I hate the sun. It doesn't like me either. I'm burned very easily, and so, yeah, I stay out of the sun as much as possible. But yeah, the weather's great. It's nice and cool. It's been raining on and off today. It was raining all day yesterday. It's been overcast and dark, and I love it. So I can't think of a better way to end off my week. And so I'm going to finish this video clip up. I'm going to edit my weekly wax wrap up for Sunday. And while I'm getting that all uploaded to the computer so that I can work on it, I will do my daily commissions for Genshin Impact. And that's kind of like my ritual on Saturdays, is film, edit, play my Genshin, and that takes up almost the entire day. I think I mentioned to you before, uploads for YouTube are really, really slow on Saturdays. By the time I get everything exported, it takes like 2.5 hours to get my one video uploaded. And so, yeah, any other day is okay, but Saturdays is not a day to be uploading. But oh well, it is what it is. So yeah, I better get off here and get started on uploading the footage to the computer and doing all of my editing. And so that's pretty much everything I've got to catch you up with this week. Let me know down in the comments below what you did this week. Did you find a great read this week, or did you have a dud? I'd love to know down in the comments below. Or did you do anything fun and exciting this week? I'd love it if you share that with me as well. If nothing else, and you'd just like to let me know that you were here, if you could leave me that rain cloud emoji down in the comments below, that would be greatly appreciated and would really help me out, and that will do it for me today. So I hope you're all doing great. I hope you're all safe and healthy. And until next time, take care and smile always. Bye.